That's a September storm. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way to do another one of my famed movie/Blu-ray reviews. Today I will be reviewing the movie and Blu-ray release of September Storm. I've known about this movie for a while. I guess this Blu-ray came out in 2016 by Kino Lorber. They recently had a sale on their website. I was able to get this for $10, so I thought, I've been pondering it every now and then if it came on sale over the years on Amazon or whatever. And when I found out that I could get it for $10 and having a 3D TV and a 3D Blu-ray player, I thought, well, this might really be kind of cool. Underwater 3D is always kind of fun, and I'm always more or less open to checking out 3D movies, especially if they're like older and they've been like some kind of big 3D restoration done. I like to support that, and I'm really always interested in seeing 3D from, in this case, 1960. And I'm pretty much a fan of this kind of movie anyway, taking place in warm climates on yachts and boats and ocean stuff. And I'm a fan of shark movies and Jaws and things, and this was up my alley, so I figured for $10 go blind buy September Storm and check out the 3D aspect of it. And well, I guess I can simply very briefly spoil the 3D aspect is absolutely stunning on this movie or this Blu-ray release. So if you're wondering about the 3D aspect of this movie and this Blu-ray release, wow, it is very, very good. And incidentally, it's not necessarily pop out of the screen 3D, but it's like really, really amazing in the 3D depth category. Like, wow, instantly from the opening credits, which is like underwater and red credits, it's like the title's kind of like at the screen, and then the ocean, the bubbles and stuff kind of go behind the title and stuff. It's interesting how there's like not a lot of necessarily pop out, but the depth of the 3D in this movie is really great. One thing I didn't like about the opening credits is it's like they fade in from black to a credit, and then it's like they fade out and they fade back in. And I don't know if that was some technical limitation that made them do that or something, but that I found was pretty annoying. But other than that, like when the credits actually on the screen and the 3D stuff is on the screen, that's really cool. But I found it really annoying every time it changes a credit. It's got to fade to black and come back. It's like, give me a break, kind of a bummer. But I was very surprised because this movie was actually directed by the guy who directed one of my favorite 50s sci-fi films by the name of, you might have heard, a little known film by the name of War of the Worlds, having grown up with that film and holding it in relatively high regard. I think that's just one of the ultimate sci-fi classics. I was really, when I found out that he directed this, I was really actually excited, and then as the movie wore on, I'm like, God damn, this plays like just a B movie, like some idiot producer who doesn't know anything about how to make movies got a hold of all kinds of money and is able to finance a 3D movie. And it's like, even with the guy who directed War of the Worlds helming it, unfortunately, it just plays like kind of a bad B movie, unfortunately, and it's kind of unfortunate, unfortunately. Doing my best to remember the premise, some hot chick, she's probably, I don't know, in her early or mid, I don't know how old this woman is. I mean, admittedly, she's like sexy, but she's, kind of more of the cougar variety, where she's, probably in her 30s, or possibly 35. It's hard to say how old this woman is, but she's, she's obviously sexy and like the sexy chick of this movie or whatever. She's just swimming on the beach, and she comes across, they're swimming in the ocean and is sitting on the beach, and comes across this one other guy, this young guy, and he's like, yeah, kind of picking her up on the beach, if you know what I mean, and that's my boat over there. You want to go diving and look for whatever, I can't remember what the hell they're looking for, but it's a pickup line, and she acquiesces to his pickup line, and I think meets him the next day to go whatever, scuba diving for this or that or whatever. And so while they're out swimming and diving, looking for whatever with their scuba gear on and this kind of stuff and that kind of stuff, aqualung, these two Americans, I don't know where this movie takes place, in somewhere in like Spain, off the coast of Spain, or who the hell knows where. It's some kind of like Caribbean-ish kind of warm, beautiful, tropical frickin' location or whatever. It doesn't take place like anywhere by America or anything, but then like while they're gone, two Americans are like on some piece of crap little boat, and they're like, hey, let's check out that boat. Well, I could take that. We could do a lot with that boat. boat. So they go on the boat looking to, I guess, just maybe take it so they can go look for this buried treasure. And then when they're looking over the boat, they find out that some French guy owns it, and then the young guy who picked up this older woman comes back, and they find out that this guy's lying. He pretends he owns the boat, but he's really just like taking care of it for this rich guy. And these two American guys are like kind of talk. They all get together and go out for dinner, and there's this kind of extended lame ass. This is what I mean. It's just like, I felt like it was, well, this is the era where this kind of stuff is also like, people care about this kind of stuff. There's like some kind of the movie stops just at this nightclub just to show this 3D dance scene of these, this guy and man and woman just dancing together, like, the Spanish kind of, like Mission Impossible 2 kind of just Spanish dance number. And it's just like, I mean, if you're into that, fine. I'm not really into that, so the movie just stops to show that or whatever. The 3D dance scene, but basically these two Americans talk this woman and this guy who pretends to be the owner of the boat, but he's really not the owner of the boat, to go off and look for this buried treasure. They know where this sunken ship is with all these gold coins. So I can't remember how, I mean, I think they kind of use the woman as leverage, like if, maybe you talk to the guy and maybe you'll talk him into it or something, using the sexual leverage that she has to talk the guy who claims to own the boat but really doesn't own the boat into letting us go use the boat and try to dive for this buried treasure. We can split it. How many of them are there? 4? We'll split it 4 ways, and I don't think you can really split something 4 ways. Split would indicate 2. You could divide it up 4 ways, but I think the wordage or the dialogue that is in fact used is we can split it 4 ways, which if someone said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense. So are you a scammer? Because you can't split something any more than 2 ways, as far as I know. But you can divide it into 4. You can divide it up 4 ways. But anyway, that's basically the whole premise of the movie. And one thing that it's got going for it is absolutely relatively great cinematography. The 3D, I can't stress enough. Like, see, the problem with the good thing about this movie is, some 3D enthusiasts might be kind of disappointed that there's not any real pop-out. But that can be a good thing, because like too much pop-out can really tax the eyes. Like there's some pop-outs in, like Friday the 13th Part 3 or Jaws or Amityville 3 and Jaws 3D and stuff, where too much pop-outs can really be taxing. And one of the good things about like not having pop-out per se, but like really nice depth, is that it's not as taxing on the eyes. So I was able to watch this movie 90 minutes all the way through without having to like take much of a break. Well, there is like an intermission halfway through it. I did take a few minutes break, I guess, so I guess technically I did take a break. But I figured the intermission, it's there for a reason or whatever, so I took a piss. But yeah, so one thing there's a couple of things I can say. Like the movie, unfortunately, like if you were to watch this in 2D or whatever, well, it still looks good. I mean, it's still a good looking movie. And the ocean stuff is underwater. I mean, any ocean underwater stuff's cool from 1960. And even though she might be 30 or 35, the chick is still in good shape, pretty sexy. I think it's so funny how she's always got to put on her like the rubber hair cover to go in the water. Like, Jesus Christ, is that do you ever wash your hair? Well, getting salt water all on your hair, I think, is probably not the best thing. So I guess I can kind of understand it, but it's just always kind of funny when she puts on her little rubber hair cover to go swimming or whatever. But then there's this one scene where she's like, it's 1960s, so you can't do much, but it's implicated that she, at night, I think it's a day for night scene, where she goes skinny dipping, and it's implied. And obviously in 1960, all you can really do is imply it. But very kind of surprised and honestly disappointed how, like B-movie-ish it comes across, and like necessarily not the best, dialogue or written dialogue or acting per se. But I mean, I guess you're watching this movie for a 3D, ocean spectacle, which I will say it delivers in the 3D ocean spectacle. It was kind of funny how they do come across. There's a picture of a fighting a shark with, is it like, yeah, spear gun a shark. I mean, unfortunately, if this was an Italian movie, man, there'd be all kinds of real sharks. Unfortunately, the shark, I think the only shark you can't blame them though. I mean, who the hell wants to work with real sharks for a movie? But the only shark I think they come in contact with is this lifeless rubber shark, which they don't show for more than like maybe 3/4 of a second at a time, because they can't show it for any longer. Otherwise, you'd know it's completely fake, because it's just this lifeless piece of rubber shark or whatever. So that kind of made it a little funny and lame at the same time, like the rubber shark thing. It's just shooting spears at this rubber shark, or spear gun. There's harpoon. What is this thing called? I don't know what. We'll just call them spear guns or harpoon. You shoot the spear gun thing at the rubber shark, whatever. It's so menacing, just lifelessly going through the water. But there's a decent amount of I will say that there's a decent amount of 3D, obviously, underwater photography, which is always fun. And I can't stress, like, how, even though there's not really any pop out, how great the 3D is in the depth. It's just amazing, because there was this one shot where early on in the movie where the camera's there and they're on top of the boat they're thinking of sealing or whatever, and there's one of the things that goes on the sail or whatever, for the sails. Well, the way the camera is placed, it's like one of these things is kind of coming, towards the camera, and then you can see, the other side of it going away, and it's just like the depth is just unbelievable how you can discern, okay, this is coming towards the camera, and then this part that's pointing away is you can see the depth of it going into the distance. And I can't stress enough how great the depth is, and that should probably, I guess I'm kind of reviewing the Blu-ray at the same time in a way as I'm reviewing the movie, but I guess that'll do it for my movie review aspect of the movie. I kind of talked about the Blu-ray, I guess, a little bit but it's part of the movie, so it's hard not to talk about the 3D. But my star rating for the movie itself, oh my god, God, it's difficult. It's like somewhere between 1 3/4 and 2 stars. I don't think I can, honestly, if I'm being truthful, which I try to be, I think I can't go any higher than 1 3/4 stars out of 4 stars for the actual movie itself. Like I say, it's ironic how you have this movie that in 1960s full color 3D to boot, got some money behind it, but it's like the guy who had the money didn't know anything about it, what a good movie is. So it's like, unfortunately, except for being like a technically pleasing, the color in the 3D is amazing, like there's not much else, unfortunately, necessarily going on, which is kind of unfortunate. So I can't really recommend the movie, but the 3D Blu-ray, if you can get it for $10 or less in a Kino Lorber sale, I'd recommend that, I suppose. Just know that the movie ain't necessarily that amazing, but the 3D, the 3D and the image is pretty amazing. As we can see in the back here, a rediscovered gem newly restored by the 3D Film Archive. You can also see the special features, 2016 interview by 3D Space with September Storm co-star Asher, what is that? Is that an A? Asher Dan, is it? Asher Dan? Let me look at the beginning. His name ain't on the front cover. We're just gonna see Asher Dan. I did look at a little bit of that, and it's crazy having an interview for a 3D movie, then the interview is 3D. I just looked at a little bit of the interview, but the interview is 3D. That's kind of interesting. They went the extra mile to film this interview for a 3D movie with the guy all these decades later in 3D. Kind of an interesting idea, but I didn't watch the whole interview because I didn't have time at the time. But you got to give him credit for shooting the interview with the guy from a 3D movie. Shoot the interview in 3D as well. Color theatrical trailer for the flat 1960 release, black and white 60-second TV spot for the 1960 3D release. Did I watch the theatrical trailer? I think so. I didn't look at the 60-second TV spot, The Adventures of Sam Space, aka Space Attack, a 3D short. originally released with September Storm. I think I did look at a little bit of that. It's animated like Gumby kind of stuff. I'll watch the whole thing later after the review. That'll help. But Harmony Lane, a previously lost British 3D short film from 1953. I haven't looked at that. That'll be fun. A 1995 interview with Tony Solman with Harmony Lane director Lewis Gilbert. But yeah, I guess this is kind of a weird review because during my review of the movie I basically talked about the review of the Blu-ray. I'm not going to rehash all that stuff. I'll simply say, if you haven't guessed, the 3D aspect of this movie is absolutely stunning and amazing. And honestly, if this movie wasn't in 3D, it's like there's really no reason almost to watch it necessarily. I mean, it's still, you know, it's still a nice color 1960, you know, frickin' ocean voyage underwater, you know, looking for buried treasure and fight a rubber shark kind of a movie. But the 3D like really makes this movie, I mean, if it's not for that, it's really hard to get through. I was having a hard time honestly getting through it in 3D, but yeah, so that's pretty much, I guess I kind of did my Blu-ray review as I was doing my movie review. I guess that'll pretty much do it, I think, more or less for this review. I guess I can show you the disc. The disc looks like this, 2017 on the disc. I thought it said 2016 on the back, but maybe the restoration was done in 2016. But I'm happy to see that the disc itself from 2017 isn't your normal boring Kino Lorber artwork. It's actually a little more interesting and colorful. So, way to go, Kino Lorber. Guess that'll pretty much do it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.